David Bay here from musculardevelopment.com. We are in Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm here with promoter of the Arnold Classic Australia and upcoming the Arnold Classic Hong Kong. But we're here this weekend for the inaugural Arnold Classic South Africa. Now let's start off talking a little bit about the bodybuilding competition we have here this weekend. Some of the biggest names in bodybuilding, most notably our top three from just a week ago in New York in Dexter Jackson, Rully Winkler, and Victor Martinez. We all know Dexter's chasing Ronnie Coleman's record of 26 wins. He racked up 25 last year in New York, although it is something that we should note. Two of those wins are in the Masters class. But he's not going to have an easy time here this weekend. Talk a little bit about those top three guys from New York and what we can expect from them here in South Africa.
Well, you know, Dexter, I've seen him for so many years come and compete in Australia, and every single year that he's come from Columbus to Australia, he's improved. He's one of the guys who flying agrees with. He hates it and he struggles and he complains and all that sort of thing, but he gets harder and harder and harder. And I can't see anyone beating Dexter Jackson here in South Africa. I can't see the order changing a lot from New York, but there is a bit of a wild card there with Lionel Bayeki. Now, the reason I bring that up is because he's one of these guys that's got so much incredible potential. The genetics and the muscle bellies and everything else, but he never quite nails his condition. In fact, I've seen him in shape once, which was in Rio 3 years ago. 3 years ago,
a little bit of a controversial show.
I had him winning the show. I thought he looked incredible, and I haven't seen that version of him since. Now, if he brings that kind of conditioning or more, because he could have been harder, everyone's in trouble. I mean, he could go to the Olympia and give everyone a hard time. The guy's got the most amazing genetic structure that I've seen in a long, long time in bodybuilding. So let's have a bit of a wild card in the show, and let's say that Lionel Bayeki actually comes in shape with thin skin. Everyone's got problems.
Now, when we talk about this show, everybody talks about Dexter as being the hands-down favorite. Even with somebody as big as Rully Winkler, everybody talks about Dexter being the hands-down favorite. But like you discussed, Lionel Bayeki has as much potential as probably any bodybuilder we've seen on the stage in the last 10, 15 years. Now, we know this is a I guess you could say it's far-fetched considering what we've seen with Lionel as far as inconsistencies. But a razor-sharp Lionel Bayeki, can he beat Dexter Jackson?
He can certainly push him. I mean, I'd like to see it. I think until you see them side by side, I don't know. I mean, Dexter Jackson, he's one of the great bodybuilders of our time, and I don't think Dexter gets enough respect in the industry as one of the all-time greats. You know, everyone talks about the guys from the 90s, and everyone talks about, you know, Ronnie's reign and Jay's reign, but stop and think about it. He's won more Arnold Classics than anyone. He's won the Mr. Olympia. He's about to break Ronnie's record of how many wins, and the guy's never out of shape. In fact, he's still getting better, and I can't see anyone beating Dexter. In fact, I think Dexter's going to give the Olympia a big push this year because he's got a determined resolve about him now where he probably takes his training, nutrition, cardio more seriously than he ever has, and he does improve with travel. So I think a razor-sharp Dexter's very hard bodybuilder to beat.
All right, now let's say those guys are our top four. There are a lot of other good names here, as we expect in an Arnold Classic. But when we start talking about some of those other names, the inconsistencies as far as conditioning is something that we see. We have a Fred Small, so when he's on, he can be very good. John De La Rosa, we saw him a little bit off in New York a week ago. Brandon Curry, another one of those guys with all kinds of potential. And some of those guys can get away with being a little bit off and still placing pretty well. How do you see the middle of the pack, mixing up?
Well, that's really interesting because I think, well, John De La Rosa, I saw him yesterday. He looks really freaky. Like he's obviously pulled it a little bit since New York, but maybe a week's not long enough. I don't know that. But Brandon Curry, he's a little bit of a Lionel Bayeki because he's this guy with all this potential who doesn't do enough with his conditioning. So he brings his best package. He's pushing for the top three as well. And then you've got a guy like, pardon me, Michael Kefalianos, who I just saw before, and he's absolutely shredded. We expect nothing less from him, but his condition probably faded over the last few years. Well, I think he's back to as hard as he gets. So you've got all these kind of guys that could really mix up that middle pack, but out of all of those, razor-sharp Brandon Curry, danger.
All right, and we probably shouldn't forget some of the other names. We have Lucas Weiler in the show, Marius Doni, a South African favorite, along with another African guy, Andrew Hudson. So definitely a good lineup here. But once again, I think it's fair to say that the lineup, as far as the top 3 or 4, probably looking at a replay of New York and probably Lionel Bayeki in that mix. Now we also have fitness here this weekend. It's definitely a good lineup. Again, this small group of fitness competitors, we see them competing all over the world in all the Arnold Classics and the Olympia. Really talented group of girls. As far as favorites, the top two from the Arnold Classic this year, Oksana Grishina and Whitney Jones, not here, but we do have third place, fourth place, and sixth place, and Bethany Wagner, Miriam Capes, and Tangi Johnson. As far as
don't forget we've got Marta here, who won in Rio and beat all of those girls at the Arnold Classic in Brazil. So we've got to throw her into the mix as well. So there's a very even field.
Yeah, now with fitness, it seems like, Oksana is just the potential favorite at every show that she enters. She's flawless. But with 2/3 of the scoring coming down to the routines, these fitness events seem like it's really a case of who brings it on game day. It's a little bit more, bodybuilding is one of those things where you put in the work the 16 weeks before the show, and how you show up at the day of the show is pretty much what you have, whereas fitness is more like other athletic competitions that we're used to. Like, they really have to perform on game day. Is there anybody that in the lineup that you could see moving up real high, or somebody slipping at all?
I'd say we've got to watch Marta. I think she's probably the one that can take out some of those big names, because she did it in Brazil. Her routine down there was flawless. But I mean, they're amazing. Right. The reason we love fitness so much in the Arnold Classics, and we made a conscious decision via Bob Lorimer to have it in all of our Arnold Classics. And the simple reason is it's so freaking entertaining.
I think everybody's in agreement that as far as everything, the fitness is the most entertaining.
We've got to stop and remember we're in the entertainment business, and people always ask me, "Oh, your shows are all about working like clockwork and being entertained." I go, "Duh, we're in the entertainment business. So why wouldn't you have women's fitness? At the finals with the guys, it breaks it up, all the the most musculars, and then you get these amazing performers, that are acrobats and gymnasts and all this all in one, but then they're in great condition, they've got amazing physiques. So I'm a big rap for women's fitness, and there's just not much between first and sixth place, because they're all good. And as you say, on the day, who's going to pull the routine off, who's going to make a little mistake in the routine, whose timing's going to be on or off, and I pity the judges, because I find it really hard to judge.
Yeah, and it's one of those divisions where I think pretty much everybody agrees that as far as preparation for a show, the fitness girls probably have it the hardest. They have to do the diet, they have to do the training, and the routine. Some of these girls are posting their practice for the routine on Facebook and Instagram, and the training that they go through to get these routine down pat is incredible. And
the risk of injury, some of the stuff they do, like you could get seriously injured doing that stuff. So they manage to keep their bodies on the thing, and you probably don't appreciate how much pain they go through compared to all the other athletes, because it's still got this razor sharp condition and the dieting and everything that goes with it. So big rap for fitness, and congratulations to Wayne Price and his whole team for getting such great lineups here in his first ever Arnold Classic Africa. I think they're as good a lineups as we've seen any of the shows around the world this year, and just so exciting to be here seeing pro bodybuilding and Arnold Classic for the first time. All
right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for myself and Tony here. Make sure to check back to musculardevelopment.com for all of our coverage. Now, remember, guys, everything is being run as one show here. So prejudging is run. There's a short break finals. That's at 5 p.m. here in South Africa. That's going to be 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. So make sure to set your clocks. Make sure you're not getting messed up on the time zones and everything like that. And we're going to have all the coverage you guys are used to. But that's going to do it for us. So one more time from Johannesburg, this is David Bay and Tony Doherty for musculardevelopment.com.